Hello, I'm Colton Arnold. Welcome to the A-List. My guest has performed concerts extensively throughout the United States and as well as performing and giving clinics at colleges and universities. He has recorded alongside jazz legend Ira Sullivan and performed at the legendary Jazz Showcase. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Tim Green.
Thank you.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
You're a freelance musician, right?
I am, yep.
All right. So what do you have going on right now? I realize you have a couple albums out already.
I've got 3 out under my name,
out?
and then I'm on a couple of other records. There's one that was recorded this past November, the Jeff Morrison Quartet. He's a saxophonist that lives in Chicago, and the pianist Bill Carruthers is playing piano on that one. I'm playing bass. A couple things that are going to be coming out probably in the next year or so that we're pretty excited about. And then also I started playing bass in Brad Wheeler's quartet. He's a Chicago saxophonist that moved down to Champaign-Urbana recently, and he was in Paris for 13 years. So he played in Kurt Elling's group. He's on some of his records.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you play multiple you play multiple instruments.
I play piano and bass, and
Piano
I'm just
and bass.
starting to learn how to play drums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that working for you?
Ask me in a couple months.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. How about your? Let's talk about a couple of your albums that are out right now.
Okay.
What was your first album that was a big hit?
Well,
around here?
the first one actually I have right here with me.
Oh, wow.
It was just sitting on the table. I think every coffee table probably has one on it. This was called Catching Yourself Gracefully. I recorded this in the summer of 2002 with Jim Cox and Phil Grateau. And Jim Cox plays bass and Phil Grateau is a drummer, and they've worked with Marion McPartland, Rosemary Clooney, several other, they're pretty well known. And I put 5 originals on there and then 4 standards, and you never really fully understand why these sorts of things happen, but it got a lot of radio play when it came out. We don't know if it hit a pocket where other piano trios were not recording or something,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, it got a lot of airplay, and it was on the charts for 6 weeks, and won an award from WBEZ, who back then was playing a lot of jazz programming. And so that was a little bit of a surprise to us, but it helped put me on the map in terms of some profile and recognition, and helped me get some more work, which is really good. So we followed that up with another record and then another one after that.
All right. Can you tell me anything about, is that Jeannie's Songs?
Oh, Jeannie's Song was the second record. That was a follow-up to this one. I had the same bass player and drummer, Jim Cox and Phil Grateau, and then also added a brilliant guitarist named Brian Wilkie, who he's very well known throughout Chicago, especially in the musician community. Mm-hmm. He plays pedal steel and all sorts of different kinds of guitars, and just a fantastic guy, very good friend of mine, and a great musician. So,
wow.
And Jeannie's song was Jeannie's song was actually a composition by a good friend of mine named John Scott, who wrote 2 of the songs that were on that second record.
Nice. So, can you tell me a little bit about your trio?
Sure. Which one? I've got one.
You got multiple?
Yeah, I've got
Oh,
several
wow.
different ones. I've got there's this standard trio, piano, bass, and drums, where I'm playing piano, and Jim Cox plays bass and Phil plays drums. That's the first CD lineup, and then there's another trio called Trio Cambia, which is the Latin word for change, mm-hmm. and that's a trio in which the piano player plays drums, I play bass and piano, and the drummer plays bass. So everybody switches.
Everybody's switching around.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So in your whole sort of career as this freelance musician, have you won any awards or like honorable mentions for anything at all?
Well, like I mentioned before, this first CD, Catching Yourself Gracefully, won. It was in the top 20 jazz CDs of 2003 by WBEZ. It's also won an award from an organization called Laconie, which is the Northern Illinois Library Association. Trio Cambia won an award from that. And there's been a few others, nothing like a Grammy award sort of level, but just some minor recognition sorts of things. It's nice to get those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been anything that you pick up the Wall Street Journal and.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least it's better than nothing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Awards are always nice every once in a while.
Yeah, and my mother gave me an award every year, best son in the world.
Well, that's
Yeah.
always good.
Yes.
All right. So future plans. Do you have any future plans for your trios, or do you have any goals for? I don't know. Maybe just come out with a few CDs in this period of time, or I don't know, anything.
That's a really interesting question, and I'll try to keep my answer brief. But like I mentioned before, we came on here. The industry is changing so much that the wisdom of recording CDs, which are very expensive to record, is starting to be more and more questionable. As you know, the CDs are still very expensive to record, and yet the revenue that you can get from one of those is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
Because of pirating. A lot of people copy CDs and they don't pay for them, and also fewer people are actually buying them just to listen to, and there's not as much of a chance of actually making your money back. So we still record. You know, I do want to continue to record throughout time, but I'm probably going to be looking for more grants and underwriting sort of things, so that, because it's not necessarily going to be a commercially profitable sort of thing, especially for the style of music that I'm playing. But I do intend to continue to record. It's something that artists, you know, like a painter has to paint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether or not the paintings are bringing him huge amounts of revenue, he still has to paint. That's the way that you express yourself. And for musicians and you know, any artists that are expressing something orally, we have to record and perform.
Definitely. So with all the recording and everything, what about live performances? How often do you have live performances?
You know, I perform live very often. I actually just performed on Sunday night. I'm performing tonight in bars and clubs, and I do a lot of cocktail parties, sort of things, private events, some weddings, and some universities and whatnot. I'll give a clinic, and you know, that'll involve a live performance and some teaching. So that's how I spend a lot of my evenings. You know, of course, it has slowed down since the economy has slowed down, because a lot of venues and just individuals, people throwing weddings and that sort of thing, are hiring DJs more often, or opting for no music just because the budgets. You know, music is one of the first things to go. But that is still something that I do quite often.
Wow. All right. Well, Tim, it was a pleasure having you
It was a
with
pleasure
us
being here.
today.
Thank you for asking me.
It was so great to finally meet you after all the
you too.
communication. Yeah. So, well, this was the A-List. I'm Colton Arnold, and thanks for watching.